One interesting thing it's floated around in my mind a lot. Um, and I haven't had a conversation with Brian Shaw ever. And I see that he's declaring that he's in. He's going all in. And I like that because that's what it will take. But I live a long way from Brian, so I don't have the opportunity to grip up with him and share what I like to share. But I think that I'm good at teaching big, strong people how to arm wrestle. And I say that I think I have practice at it. I get a lot of dudes here in Brisbane that just turn up and they're massive guys. Not Brian Shaw massive, but some of them very close to Brian Shaw massive. And anyway, I just wanted to, Brian, if you see this, there's some value in this, I hope. Much more value if we ever do get the grip up and I get to show you and do this dance with you. But here's what I would do. If I was to coach Brian Shaw, or anyone for that matter, that is incredibly strong, we have to get past the curse of strength. We have to get past the problem that is, this dude is so strong that he doesn't know how to discover efficiencies. And discovering efficiencies is incredibly important. It's not just enough to be strong in arm wrestling. Like, yes, if the strength gap is significant enough between you and your opponent, it will be sufficient to just be strong. And Brian will be that in a lot of cases. Because he's so strong, he will be that for a lot of people. He'll be able to beat them, despite having inefficient movements. But the other problem is, when you are that strong and because you have that ability, like even if Brian and I were to grip up, Brian would probably be strong enough to just defeat me on really ugly, basic shapes. That's not going to help him. So, in order to discover these efficiencies, and I still haven't watched the video with Devin Larratt and Brian, so I don't know what Devin went through. I think Devin talked a lot about positioning and fundamentals and kind of the values of pronations and things like that. I don't know. I actually haven't watched it. I've just seen snippets here and there. But if I was to coach someone like Brian, what I would do is I would say, okay, Brian, we are going to arm wrestle now. We arm wrestle for an hour. But the rule would be, we're not going anywhere. And this is day one, we're not going anywhere above 10% pressure. If I feel you're going above 10% pressure, okay, no good. And it's at 10% pressure, I want you to map things. I want you to feel when a position results in less lactic acid buildup versus more lactic acid buildup. And this is, when I say positions, I'm talking about positions of your own biomechanics relative to my biomechanics. Okay? And given that we're two humans and we have an elbow pad to move around on, and we can go front of elbow, back of elbow, side of elbow, other side of elbow. We can do a million different things with our hands. There's ultimately unlimited combinations of patterns. And if you try to think through all these different combinations of patterns, you simply will not ever be able to keep up. The only way to really become knowledgeable on it and instinctive on it and get your central nervous system to understand when the right time is to do something is to feel things over and over and over again. So we're going to arm wrestle at 10% pressure. And we arm wrestle at 10% pressure and we feel things. And even at 10% pressure, so no one's going to be forcibly pinning anyone. But what you're going to be doing is trying to find and map and feel when positions are efficient and when positions are not efficient. Now, efficient, green light, that will teach you, your central nervous system, that's a nice pressure. You can play around with it. You can experiment with it. You can sit there and go, oh, hang on, yeah? No, oh no. When I did that it became less efficient. You could feel the rate of lactic acid all of a sudden is building up more. Now, this is the only way to get around the curse of strength, is to arm wrestle like this and to arm wrestle with somebody who can float with you. And when I say float with you, no stonewalling, no rigidness, rubber bands, okay? Just feel. So much of arm wrestling is your technique amplifying the physical strengths you have. The curse of strength is only relevant to those who enter the sport tremendously strong. I truly think the easiest path, or the most advantageous path in arm wrestling is to learn to arm wrestle when you're a child. All these right instincts, and then grow to be a monster. That's the best formula. But the guys who are monsters, who just walk straight in, they have a hard time, believe it or not. It is not an easy thing to do. So, if I was to coach Brian Shaw, that's day one. That's the direction we head. And now, I would not allow him to graduate beyond 10% pressure until 10% pressure is feeling real slick. Then we move to 20. Okay, gradually 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, until the point where he's at a red line. And look, if Brian was at a red line with efficient movements, when he's way past me, he's at a monstrous level. So that's the process. Because right now, when I look at Brian Shaw's shapes, the curse of strength is written all over him. And training to get stronger in specifics right now, although that is good for conditioning, which is a factor that he's going to need to develop, he does need to get his elbow ready for the sport. He won't become complete unless he maps his central nervous system to the most efficient pathways in arm wrestling. So anyway, that's what I'd do if I was Brian Shaw's coach. Brian, if you see this and you want to get on the table, hit me up.